Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you guys for coming back to episode 3 of Fully Geared. I am your host, Plate. I am joined by the famous Mr. Booch. How are you, Booch?
Wonderful. What's happening?
Not a whole lot. So we're going to be talking about crafting. I reached out to Booch and he was like, hey, let's talk about crafting. And I love crafting, so honestly, we haven't really gotten too much on it, but once you brought the topic up, I was like fully invested. So let's go ahead and kick it off.
Yeah.
All right.
I love the craft myself.
Yeah. So what do you look for, I would say, in crafting?
Well, to me, I like a more diverse system where it's not so simple. I mean, I don't mind the difficulty in the actual combinations and the actual recipes. I don't like the systems where you have to like just grind the materials to no end, and you have to fight over the materials so much. But I like a more varied system, which is what I hope they're looking to put in.
Yeah. I don't know, like every crafting game I've ever played, I've always like grinded really hard for the materials, so it'd be kind of weird not doing that, you know? I could see like the scaling back a little bit on that for sure, because like, dude, it just gets so repetitive, you know? And it's that constant grind just totally just a life drain after 30 hours of playing crafting, you know?
You know, it's nice that when it's a game within a game.
Yeah.
But it goes too far when you're spending literally like, you know, more than half of your time that you would be spending adventuring to get materials. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right. It's you don't want it to be like a whole different secondary thing of the game. You want it to be like, you know, you could do it in your downtime or whatever, you know, and you could still get shit done. Type.
Right.
Yeah, okay. Right. I get that. So
the other thing is like, there's some games where there's like no chance, you know, there's the no fail recipes, and there's stuff where it's like so simplistic. I like to have to think about things a little bit when you're doing that, so you almost to the point where like, you know, they should, you know, where you have to actually figure out a recipe, or you know, there's always that chance of fail in the recipe. I mean, that's so much better because it gives you more of a challenge, you know.
Right. Yeah. And yeah, that's very true. But here is a list of do's and don'ts, what I came up with, and you could let me know if you feel strongly about them, if you don't care about them. But just starting out with the do's. So the crafting system that I really really want is something that is very robust in profession. Like it's broken down into multiple different levels of profession. So say your main profession is blacksmithing, and I would like to see a specialization off of that profession into weaponsmithing and armor smithing. You know, like there's two different avenues you could take with it.
Yep.
And then kind of given that deepness, it's like almost like your character, it's your class, you know, it's like your whole spell system or whatever, you know. It might not be like a book per se, but it's more like skilled trees type of thing within crafting. And I think that like really really makes something rich, I guess, in retrospect. But which brings me to the next one, and you could stop me at any time and just chime in. But yeah, so that robustness and profession system, there has to be limitations to where you can't just do it all, you know. Like I feel strongly that a character should be limited in maximizing or mastercrafting one of those professions or one of those specializations, say, per se, just so that it drives demand, you know, and it creates that that player dependency on each other. Like, oh, I need to go find a crafter. Which crafter do I need? I need a blacksmith to make me a sword, right? So you go for that guy that's specifically in that, you know, specialization and can make like the best stuff, you know.
Yeah, I don't know if I agree with you on that one. That one, I could see. I mean, I'm kind of on the fence because I could see both ways to look at it. Like for me, I don't want to be limited in anything, right? But I see what you're saying, where to make it more specialized, you can almost do it to the point where, okay, look, technically there's no limit, right? You could be every single profession there is, every trade skill,
Right.
but you would need to live 5 lifetimes to be able to, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Something
yeah.
like that, or on the other side, like you're saying, or limit it. But I wouldn't go 1. I would say maybe 2, and have those 2. You'd have to categorize them somehow. You know what I'm saying? You'd have to have like maybe blacksmithing, which would be like you're saying, blacksmithing, weaponsmithing, armor. So you could pick one of those, and then you could pick one where it's artificing or with something to do with wood or tailoring or whatever.
Right.
So
Okay.
you'd have, but I wouldn't want to put a limitation on just one. But then again, like I just said, or it could be so involved and so hard to level that you'd never be able to do it unless you just strictly devoted all your time to trade skilling.
Yeah, and
So
that's what I mean.
that
That's what I yeah, and that's what I want it to be, you know, like I don't want it to be easy to be able to do everything. I mean more like master crafting, and you can only max out one profession per character, you know, like you could still do all the other stuff, you just can't mastercraft a specific thing. It's like the end tier, right? Like tier 5. You can't do tier 5. You could do up to tier 4, which is still pretty good gear and people would still buy it, you know. But tier 5, and that comes with rarity, cost, and actually getting a great end product and whatnot. Because droppable stuff, and we'll get into it, droppable stuff is predetermined, and we can make crafting predetermined, or you can make it a little RNG influence where you can add stuff and kind of get a better percentage and whatnot. But yeah, anyway, which brings it to the next line, which leveling system within this / multiple, i.e. skinning, tanning, tailoring, you would almost level all those up. Like there's an experience bar for all those, or whether it all falls under the umbrella of crafting, whatever it is. But that would be at like 1 times the experience. So same as like XP experience from just killing shit. But yeah, 1 to 1.5 I think would be good for the time it takes you to do stuff.
Yeah, I'm all for that. And you would have to have it skewed. You'd have to have it correlate to whatever you're doing. Like in other words, we'll use blacksmithing because it's easy. So say your entry level, you're making tin and copper stuff because it's easiest. Well, usually in
Right.
games
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So that would correspond to your gathering ability to refine the ore, and
Right.
the ore would be like low level stuff, copper, copper, tin, stuff
Right.
like that. Like you're not like level 5 or whatever going around smacking some anthracite or some high level stuff,
Right.
some titanium or so, you know what I
Right.
mean? So
Right.
that
Yeah.
it should all be in sync like that,
Like
which is how they usually do games, when they do
yeah,
that.
yeah, and it's becoming. I say this because I've been playing this type of model and system in crafting, and it's so fucking fun, man. Part
Oh
of my
yeah,
French.
absolutely,
It's so fun.
absolutely.
Like you could get
Yeah,
lost doing, especially if it's pretty too. I mean, you could just get lost doing it.
yeah. I mean, it's like you said, it goes back to the same thing. It's a game within a game. It's
Yeah.
like, let me go find. I have to go find this whatever, and like I said, anthracite or some
Right.
some
Yeah.
ore that you know, it's in some area, and then that all ties into the whole adventuring thing because then, you're not going to be level 5 adventurer and a level 50 blacksmith because how are you going to get the materials?
Right.
Because now you have
Exactly.
to go into a level 50 zone to get the stuff. So
Exactly. Yeah, and it's
all
restricted by content too. In a group and to getting real good
yeah,
shit. So like master crafting doesn't just become uh oh, I could just sit here and craft all day to get master crafting. I have to actually partake in groups and raids to be able to even get exposed to this content. Or I can buy it, which I'd probably be buying it at a high price.
sure, sure.
Um,
I mean, I like that system. Um, like EQ had that material you got from only from raids that would allow you to make the highest end cultural augment for your gear. But the only way you could get that was through a raid.
yeah,
So there you go. I mean, something like that would be cool. You know what I mean? If you and then you had to be able to craft it. So
exactly.
not only did you have to be high enough level and you know with a good enough guild to get the item, you had to be a high enough skilled, and then if you made it no drop, you couldn't just give it to somebody and say, here, make me this augment or make me this thing. You have to physically make it yourself.
That would even
So that
be
makes it
yeah.
more challenging.
Yep, and you couldn't trade it.
Couldn't
Um,
do nothing. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, but I don't want necessarily people to end up with it off of like drop based. Like you actually have to go in and harvest it yourself. Um,
Yeah.
but the in-depth process, we'll go on to that next line. But I will take blacksmithing again. But within blacksmithing, like the profession, you're going to be doing like a number of harvesting and refining. So you got mining the actual ore, refining the ore, smelting the ore, and then actually crafting it. So smelting it into ingots or bars, and then you actually craft it for those. And then there's other components and whatnot that can tie into it too. But yeah, something I feel like that, I guess, this plus this plus this plus this equals this type of thing. I like that added depth with the process, but would you be cool for that?
Well, I think that just makes the whole thing much more immersive. If it's something where you just, you get this axe that, this pickaxe, right? For example, like we're saying in the next, we'll go a little bit ahead of ourselves, but you get this pickaxe, and first of all, you need a pickaxe that's able to mine the ore you're looking for, right? So that's one step in the process. Then, I hate the games where you just get this material, you hit this little box where you put the two things in there, you hit go, and then boom, you get your item. I mean, how boring is that?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I want like you're saying, you have to, first of all, you have to get the axe that's your, the material. To get the materials, you have to do something to actually get the materials first. You have to get the tools first.
Right.
Then, 4 steps would be great. Like you're saying, you mine it, you refine it, you smelt it, and then finally you have to make it, which would be cool because then you'd have to, like, level up every every aspect of the trade skill, which would be awesome.
Yeah. And like within each of those aspects of leveling up to get that pickaxe or whatever, like each mining, refining, smelting, they all have their independent levels. So you can be,
Right.
and they all
You
have
can
their
get way
different, yeah, perks and different things and trees in there to like, you can really bring out that sense of part of the process, in its own like own class system basically. But
right, because the other thing you got to look at is if you did it that way, you wouldn't be able to just, okay, I'm gonna make an all, and he's gonna be a woodworker. So I'm gonna make the all, and then I'm just gonna use my all the in-game currency I have. I'm gonna use that to just buy the materials. So I'm not gonna go actually, I'm not gonna actually go harvest the materials. I'm just gonna
right.
buy the materials. Well, now you can't do that because sure you have the money to buy the stuff, but now even though you'll be able to level up one aspect of that trade skill, you still won't have harvesting. So what good is the guy if he's a level 10 woodworker if he can't even harvest level 2 wood?
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
exactly. Mm-hmm.
You won't get ahead of yourself, which I like. I like that system because it
Yeah.
just,
And in
way
order,
more in.
yeah, and in order, I just thought of this, but in order to become a master crafted, say you have to meet a requirements list, and you have to have these three things maxed before you can become the master crafter. So like a woodworker that just wants to buy stuff off the market and just make stuff, he can never become a master crafted because he's not actually cutting down the trees. He's not splitting it into timbers or whatever it is, the next process that they could think of. But yeah, like that refining of the wood. But I think that would be really cool. Like you can definitely block people out because I'm trying to make, I want Mastercrafted to be an end goal that takes a very long time, but it's also very influential and very, I guess, important to become a Mastercrafted just because of the high quality stuff you're going to be able to put out. But right. You're going on to tools and pickaxes. So my next line is tiered tools to generate more / better yields, i.e. pickup axe, bronze pickaxe, steel pickaxe, coal dark pickaxe, steel pickaxe. That's like the type of tiered system I was thinking of. Like you get a bronze, you can make a steel, and then you can make a coal dark if you get the necessarily materials for it.
Right.
But and then like with each tool, like you bring in more yields or you generate more ore when you're actually mining. So it's not just like the same every time, You can mine like tin and bronze with a coal dark steel axe way faster than you could with just the steel pickaxe, like it gains you time too, so you're not just spending all that time just cutting down stuff and whatnot.
Right.
Yeah, but craftables are harvested rather than looting. Oh, this is a big one. So this is to go on the pickup rates and drop rates, and this is something that I added later on the list, but I feel like after thinking about it, it would work really, really well in what I was thinking. But craftables are harvested rather than looting NPC's corpse to manage bag space, which is a big problem in MMOs. Easier. And create cross components for professions, i.e. skinning, mining, tree cutting to obtain pelts, meat, bones. So like, this is what I meant by this. Say you kill a boar, right? You go kill a boar, you can skin the boar, which you'll get meat, pelts and bones out of them, and that correlates with tailoring, cooking, blacksmithing. So it wouldn't be bad to get your skinning up just because you can use part of the materials actually within other crafting professions. So it's not just one restricted thing. It's not just mono. It's right. Plethora of things you can get from the thing, but that also generates things that they could sell to other people. And you're not just you don't just kill the boar and then loot them, because everybody will end up with like so much just bag space and just extra crap that they don't even care that's crafting or whatever, that they're just going to sell to the NPC anyways. That it's actually, you put it through the trade skill or the craft of skinning, and that you can get those materials out of it. And it kind of separates that, so you're not just getting a plethora of just loot in your bag space, which alternatively saves your bag space, but helps more so just with crafting. Like crafters that want a skin to get the materials, they could do so. Other people don't even worry about it. They just, nope, nothing's on the body, we'll go to the next one, you know.
Yep.
I don't mean like full items and gems and quest items and stuff like that. That would all be dropped too, but just the crafting stuff.
I would say I wouldn't necessarily put it as like never drop. You know, in other words, if you're in a somewhere where there's these mobs that would be possibly doing blacksmithing, you know, some bad dwarves or something.
Right. Yeah.
If you're killing them, I mean, there could be a chance they got some ore on them. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. In that case, yeah. Okay, I get that. But I mean, like
don't make it like you can pig, and next thing you know, you got pork chops. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Like I wanted it to be, there's multiple amount of things on an animal, but you just get that side of it through the actual crafting,
right.
Whatever, you know, through skinning or through wood cutting. Like wood cutting, I put up there. I put tree cutting. I messed that up. Tree cutting though, to obtain woods, oils, and bugs, and that you can use that for woodworking, alchemy, and cooking. You know, you get like things. Yeah. It's like a plethora of things in there, right? And well, that. Too, go ahead.
If you're gonna out an like, if you like, you know, use an animal for example, then you have butchering, where you would actually get the meat. You have skinning, you know what I mean, where you would get obviously the skin. So right. You know, all kinds of different, you know, different things you could do with that where you're for harvesting.
Yeah, exactly. And then that just goes like that much further. And that it's also, you need to do it in order to get specific recipes, or you could buy it, you know, it doesn't matter. All right, we'll go down to the next one. And it's funny too, because they cover that, and I didn't realize that until after I read it. I'm like, wow, that's actually pretty cool. Good crafting, gathering, harvesting, refining animations. So I want it to look pretty. I want it to look fluid and pleasing to watch. Because if you're going to spend so much time into it, you might as well like what you're watching, you know?
Yeah.
Which I don't think is a problem, you know?
No.
They've been doing that for a while. But yeah, just fun animations, you know, that like actually cutting down the tree, actually mining the ore type thing. That's good. All right, so this is another one I really want. Heightening of an item / customizable type, boosting stats, or enchanting the item. I think that's a given for crafting. Like every time I think of crafting, or at least EQ and stuff, I think that you enchanting items and things and whatnot. Points, essence, mats to improve % chance for success. So this is what I wanted to, and New World is a good example of this, because I took a lot of the components from New World in this because they do it really well. You can add, I forgot, Azoth, I think it is, to an item to get a better percentage of success rate into the quality of the item, like fine steel, you know, like it's not just a crack steel longsword you made, it's a fine steel longsword you made, which that would just improve the actual percentage chance of it. And then you can spend that through your materials or essence, because there's each class has their own essence, to whether it just be a crafting essence or something that drops. That can be cool too. And then points.
Yeah, a worn item too.
Yeah.
So if you had a worn hat or, you know, hammer or whatever, that will increase your chance for success, increase your chance of increase your chance of success, or increase your chance of a fine item, or whatever you want to call it. You know, there's always a worn item you can get. That would increase that also.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
would also so could tie into a like a perception or a quest of some kind where you get a 5% hammer or something. You know what I mean?
That
A
would be
trophy of
cool.
some kind.
Yeah, that would be really cool. I would love for that to tie in. The thing about that is I know everybody's not going to do perception because you got to be a lore keeper or something. What is it? Forgot.
Yeah, a keeper of lore keeper.
Yeah, something.
Yeah, but that's supposed to be a whole separate aspect.
Yeah, which is still very cool. So then within that, I mean, I did trial and error, i.e., chance to fail or break the item, which is standard in crafting. I think that there should always be that chance. Fluid integration into itemization. This is a really, really big one, and how crafting or craftables, gear, weapons, whatever fits into the actual drop gear loot. I always think, and I don't say this for every game, but at least for Pantheon, I feel that the dropped loot should never be worse than the crafting gear. I think that should always stay up on top of the crafting gear, and crafting gear either is on par, maybe, or comes in just under, because once you get to the master crafted level, you can get really creative with what you make. So,
right. That's a tough one because people are, usually really, really strong one way or the other. You know
yeah.
what I mean? There's people that say, crafted gear should be just as good as dropped loot. See, to me, I mean, I could go either way with it, but I think if I had a preference, the way I would go with it is with crafted gear, you could make a more customized piece of equipment or gear as far as the stats you want on it that might not be quite as good as a dropped item. You, you know what I'm saying? But the
Right.
dropped item should always be like the top dog. Like a raid drop should be better than anything you can
Right.
make.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
If you want some special, some special enchantment on their Faerun or C and Viz or something like that, which that dropped item, a dropped item's a dropped item. It's just going to come the way it is. But you can itemize it for what you can make it a little special, sacrificing hit points or whatever. You know
Right.
what I'm saying? That you never can achieve through a crafted item.
Right, yeah. Or it's just different stats. Like I thought like it'd be cool for the crafted item you could pick the stats you want on the weapon, or you get a chance to get these stats you want.
Yeah, like the check dad put in chat. He said you would have to make the materials really rare or crazy to get for the gear to be really good. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's like I was saying, like I said earlier about the EQ, the raid drop. It was to get the highest cultural gear there, you had to get that one drop that would make the best dog. That's how it should be, I think.
Yeah,
Because
for
if
sure.
not, your market would just get flooded. You know what I mean? You'd have everybody and their mother making the best stuff, and look, I got the best breastplate.
Exactly,
And it
yeah.
would flood the market.
It's too saturated, yeah. And even in that I just thought even the tools, like you need to have the highest tool to be able to mine the damn thing, and you need to have a certain level of mining to be able to do it. And once you clear those checks, then you can actually mine the stuff. Then you need to be high enough to refine it, smelt it, and then mastercraft it. So I mean, the process is very, very detailed. He also goes on to say, or raid materials to be raid equivalent gear, but need so many of it to make them run the raids for the materials, not just the gear, obtained only in a raid. Yeah, exactly. So you're running the raid for two reasons. You want it for the craftables or for the crafters, and you want it for the actual dropped loot.
Right.
Definitely a big thing. Or I would even like to see things that are hidden, like little I guess Easter eggs are hidden amongst the world, and if you can find it, because there's so much climbing and everything, you could really hide things in this game. You hide like coal dark ore or something, a big mountain of it, in some place that's. And then the spawn time would be off, like days or whatever.
I mean, I would go so far as to say, like, if they really wanted to be cool, you could actually make you could actually make a rare recipe needed the material from a raid boss. So in other words, you take out the raid. Normally you take out the raid boss, the chest pops, the guy just disappears.
Right. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
what if you harvested the raid boss? You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
That's what I was.
What
Oh
if
yeah, I wanted to go into that. Yeah.
you lop the ponytail off this dude or cut his freaking liver out,
Yeah.
and you, I mean something like that, and you gotta make. I mean, that would
Yeah,
be pretty
like you
cool.
skin the dragon and then you can get the bones to make the
Right.
armor and you can get the meat for the cooking and like which is like a feast for
Yeah. So
cooking and even like that within that uh recipe of the dragon meat it gives you life regen and mana regen over time but also makes it like area based or something like that. So you're you know
yeah.
that'd be fucking awesome, man. Damn. Yeah, that'd be
I mean,
awesome.
you never see that. I mean, what other game have you ever seen where like, the raid boss, you take out the raid boss, like I said, he just disappears and then the chest pops, or you
Yeah.
loot his corpse, and when all his loot's gone, the guy just disappears. What if they made it interactive where, you need Kazakh Thul's eyeball, so you pull, you know what I mean? So you pull this eyeball out, and it gives you like a see invis item, you know what I mean, or
Oh,
something
or
like
you
that.
can craft, yeah, or yeah, something like that. Yeah. Dude, that'd be awesome. That'd be really, really
Yeah.
cool. And like there's different crafting items that could use the eyeball, like you put it in like the hilt of a sword or
Right.
something like that. Or you put it
Three
in
or
a
four.
necklace and jewelry or yeah. Or you
Yeah,
put it
there's
even in cooking or something. You cook the eye and you make some badass berserker potion or something. Yeah, like you
yeah,
can or see invis or something like that. That'd be
there's all
awesome.
kinds of. That's not. I don't think there's a. I mean, I haven't played every game, but I've never had a game where you did that.
So you
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 when
could
you do.
do it. Yeah, you could do it in New World and you can do it in Conan. And those are the only two games I'm familiar with that do it. Yeah, Conan bosses had a bit of crafting slash mats like that. Yeah, Bobo just put it in. That's kind of where I got the system. Me and Bobo play Conan, so like we're always harvesting the boss and stuff. So, and you get
On
like
Exile or
yeah,
Age?
exiles. Yeah, yeah, it's pretty cool. So yeah, fluid integration into itemization, and then item breakdown for mats and repairs. Yeah, just to break down the items and get the mats. You don't get
I
a
love that.
100% return on it. You get like maybe a 60% return on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then yeah, so you can do that.
That's huge because nothing's worse than getting a bunch of old gear laying around and you have nothing to do with it to
Mm-hmm.
destroy it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So if you had some decent level 30 stuff, you know, and you can break it down, that's awesome because it saves space and it's just more immersive.
Yeah, I mean, it's so true. All right, so the don'ts real quick. So basic slash stale progression, I think that's a given. Market flooding, nobody wants that. Time and time again, you've come, and this question made me think of the auction house and how that would be determined because that is a big component of how crafting, the impact of crafting can be across other players in terms of like selling and buying mats and stuff. So whether they make it easy with a auction house or I don't know. What do you think?
Well, I mean, I think most people would want it like at least a city based, where it's not the entire world. The auction house isn't the entire world, so it would be city based. So if you want something from one area, you'd have to actually go to the city and have an auction house there. I think the world based auction house, that's a little overkill.
Yeah, and or servers and all together. Yeah, I think.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, that was in like Diablo 3. I think it became just auction. They even removed it. I think just because it was just so bad.
It's out of control.
Yeah, it gets way too out of control, and then there's no like importance in it. But yeah, if they kept it to like town based or city based, that'd be great because you could take stuff and sell it on the other side of the world, make more money on it, and
Yep.
whatnot. Excessive mounts. Excessive amounts of miscellaneous items looted from NPCs to take up too much inventory space, i.e., bones, meat, or eyes. Just what I was saying before, and how your bag space can get over flooded. and take up all your bag space, because I know bags even in EQ were a big thing, you know.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Craftable
That's
bags.
always every MMO. As soon as it starts out, that's like one of the hot items because you start out
Oh
with
right,
hardly
yeah.
anything. Everyone wants to buy a bigger bag, you know.
Yeah, I know.
That's why they put them in. You can use real life money for that.
Yeah, I know. At on Daybreak, you can
5
buy experience potions or you get bags, whatever one you want.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So these are the specializations / professions of what was on, I believe it's Pantheon MMO Wiki, I want to say. This is what they posted about the crafting section on professions. So far we're going to get professions in alchemist, blacksmith, outfitter, provisioner, scribe, stonemason, and woodworker. And then that goes on to break it down. Alchemist doesn't have any, but what they put in for details, they have focus on toxins, focus on elixirs, which work. I think that's good. I like that. If it is, I like that there's a specialization in toxins for alchemist. Like it's its own line. And then elixirs is a big thing. Potions, mana potions, all that stuff.
That's always huge. That's always huge.
I feel like you can even make a lot of money with that, especially if it's like if they do toxins to be able to like coat your weapons and stuff in the, if you're fighting like humans and they can get poisoned, you can coat your weapons in it.
So, no details on the sculptor. What is this? I mean, leatherworker, chef. That's obvious. But what would the sculptor be doing?
This is the only thing I could think of is like player housing. I want to say like the woodworker, how it goes into carver. I think maybe they could make that a carpenter or something, and then make houses and stuff if they get to that level. I know that that wasn't on the cards, but they kept player housing in talk, for a while. But I don't really think that they're going to be putting it in, at least not at launch. I think it's just too big of a task to be able to make systems and assets and all that for that. But yeah, blacksmith, weaponsmith, armorsmith, yeah, tailoring, leatherworking. I like how outfitters tailoring and leatherworking together, because then you could do tanning, and then tanning can be leather. Well, I think you don't tan cloth. Well, maybe dyeing. Maybe dyes and tanning would be like one other part of the process. Provisioner, brewer. I love that. I can't wait to be a brewer, man. That's gonna be the coolest part. And remember in EQ when you get drunk and your screen just goes all crazy and your dude goes all crazy. Yeah. Yeah, they can make that fun.
I'm looking at this list. I'm trying to think, are they missing anything? Like, what else could there be in there? But really, pretty much everything's covered. I'm trying to think what else could possibly be in there. You got your plate and chain for the blacksmith.
Mm-hmm.
You got your leather and cloth for your outfitter. That's for your gear, and your weapons are your wands. Yeah, I mean everything's pretty much covered there.
Yeah, they even got bow gear for bows.
Now, are you thinking there's going to be you're going to have to specialize in one or the other?
So this is what I mean. Like, yeah, you gotta like what I was talking about before. You mean? Yeah. So you would master, like, this is a good thing. So you can do blacksmithing. You could do both armor and weapon smithing, but you only can mastercraft a weaponsmith. Like you have to pick which one you actually want. But that doesn't mean you can't do outfitting, provisioner, and scribing all the same, but you just can't get the mastercraft level. You only can pick one. So I don't know. I think it'd be really, really interesting in what you can do with that. And it just creates that demand in my mind. All right. Let's go ahead. So this is a quick harvesting list that Nefel posted on the forums in the harvesting section. I just screen grabbed it, so just for you guys out there to get an idea, it would be like mining, logging / wood cutting, gathering / harvesting plants, fishing, skinning / butchering, and scavenging. So, which all can correlate under the profession list. All right. So Nefel goes into how he thinks that creature loot should be determined. And if you guys don't know who Nefel is, he just recently became a member of the VR network, the Visionary Realms team. And now he's a full-time employee under them. So, and I believe he's handling crafting. And if I'm wrong, chat, you can correct me. But yeah, so we'll just go into what he's said in the past, over the past few months, and take a little look back. But creature loot, rather than having a massive amounts of creature parts dropped as direct loot, it would be better to put these behind a skinning / butchering gathering profession. This would accomplish 3 things. It would help the materials, keep the materials rare where they need to be, instead of every adventure coming back with piles and piles of eyes, meat, flesh, wings, and so on. Players would have to intentionally focus on gathering these resources. Long term, this would be easier to balance for rarity than just having every mob randomly drop a selection of parts. What do you think about that?
Well, I think that's right where you want to be, because it's like I don't know if you ever played Project Gorgon. That's exactly what you do. You kill a mob, you kill a pig or whatever. You have a choice of skinning, butchering, or there's one other you can actually do. So you pull out your skinning knife, you skin it, and then you can actually butcher it too. So you don't have to do one or the other. You can do both.
Oh, you can do both. Yeah.
You can do all the things you want to do, but it gives you the option of not having to, like he's saying, not having to loot the mob and have you got 8,000, like you said, 8,000 eyes and bat wings and all that crap that you don't want. You know what I mean? To get what you really want. That's much better. I like it much better.
Yeah, and I just think of EQ, like how many bat wings you just sell to the vendor, when you're just trying to level. Yeah. You're not going to use them, like, I mean, it's coin at the end of the day, but you could drop other stuff that's not actually craftables, It would allow players to focus on the type of resources that they really wanted to. This is another big thing that I was talking about. So like, if you really wanted to focus on this, that's all you have to do, You don't have to go, and it's still like dynamic and whatnot, but you only have to do one thing. If players had a choice in which type of resource to gather, they might decide to focus on pelts for armor, bones for weapons, meat for food, or regents for other consumables. This helps both crafters and non-crafters, because people could then work to fulfill needs instead of collecting some of everything. So it's a needs basis,
Absolutely.
It's like hunter and gatherer, You have a need to gather, but you also have a need to hunt and to eat and to get the gear and whatnot. So it incorporates everybody, but it also lets them focus on the specific need that they need to, I think he's right there on the nose with that, man.
That system, what he just wrote right there, that system also adds to like the realism, because I mean, realistically, if you killed a wild dog or whatever, what could you do to it? You could skin it,
right?
You could butcher it. I mean, it's not just gonna, this meat isn't just gonna magically be there for you. You know what I mean? So that just gives it more realism, which is, I like that.
Yeah, and it's behind that wall, it's like you need to be a skinner in order to get that, if you really want that, which focuses on your needs to do that. And then lastly, it would help players from overloading their inventory space, which I covered earlier. But once players realize that something is useful, their tendency is to always gather that item, even though Ronik started with a small bag in his inventory. And this was going over the stream. that this was written about, when Ronick, and I have screen grabs and stuff we'll go over, was in his inventory. It was clear from watching him loot for a few minutes that inventory space will be something players need to manage. It always was in EQ. It always probably will be in Pantheon. While stacking can help with this, which we know, the sheer variety of different creatures' resources will still overwhelm it. By making these things a result of international gathering rather than just a default loot table, and by giving players a choice of what they are gathering, inventory space becomes much more manageable.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't know about you, but that's like probably my biggest pet peeve about like first playing an MMO is that the bag space is not there.
Yeah.
It just drives me freaking nuts because you
Yeah.
always have to end up destroying stuff. You know, you have to like kind of, okay, which thing do I destroy? Do I destroy this sword that might be good in the next level, or do I destroy this material? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's always, it's always, you know,
Well,
very
think
rarely do you have enough bag space from the start.
I just thought of this too, but even though it might not even just be the actual slots in your bag, but it's the encumbrance of your characters. So if you're weighted down, man,
Right.
you're just
That.
carrying extra weight you don't need,
Yep.
And
Absolutely.
especially if coin's gonna factor into this. I mean, it's gonna be needed, definitely needed. All right, let's go on to the next. Oh, here, this is So I brought up the inventory on the screen, and you could just see in his bag slots of how much stuff he already picked up, and he does have one spare bag in his slot, but even then, just in your base inventory, it's already full, and he was probably going for like 10 minutes, 10-15 minutes, and he was full. But yeah. And we can go back to that slide too if you guys want to make references. So item descriptions, this is another big one that he covered. But depending on what games someone has played in the past, they may or may not make assumptions about the items that they gather from NPCs. For example, that they may assume the most loot drops are primarily for selling to an NPC merchant. This is especially true if the player has not really done much in the way of crafting in previous games. On the other hand, someone who has done a lot of crafting may assume that most of what they are picking up is a useful resource. So I think he's just going over there with just the experience in the past of whether you know or don't know that primarily what you're picking up is just vendor trash anyways, and whether the new player or whoever that doesn't really have that background comes in and can decipher the difference, and a lot of people don't. We didn't know anything until like later in EQ before we knew what was crap and what wasn't.
Yeah. Right.
But yeah, I mean, that's always part of the learning game. Not everybody's going to know everything. But it would also be cool to have like a little index so you can research some things of what this item might take place, or what this item might be used for, or what have you.
Yeah. I mean, see, that's a tough one because, and on one hand, you kind of, it's a nice thing to do, like have that, this little box, and you put your cursor over the whatever you're gonna loot, and it says that crafting material, salvageable,
Mm.
whatever. This is edible or whatever. You know what I mean?
Right, yeah.
It's kind of hand holding. You know what I mean? Because it's kind of like giving you
Yeah.
information, like kind of lead you, help you along. But I mean, it is nice. It would be nice to know, especially something drops that you don't know what it is. It's nice to have that little, or have the identify ability. You know
Oh
what I mean?
yeah,
Where
yeah. That would be cool.
you have
Like
skill up identify, so you see something that you don't know what the hell it is.
maybe that
It
could even
drops,
go ahead.
and it drops in it, and you have to click, identify. And if you have a high enough identify
Yeah.
skill, you'll figure out what the hell this is you're looking at. If you don't, do you leave it on the mob, or do you loot it? You know what
Yeah,
I
I
mean? It's all
know.
that in too. That's pretty cool.
Even like, dude, I can just, my mind's just running with how much stuff. But that makes me think of Diablo 2 when you think about the identify stuff. You need identify scrolls and stuff like that. But maybe that could be commissioned by the scribe profession, you know?
I mean, there's
Like
all
he
kinds of.
writes identification scrolls so you can identify items and stuff. But also maybe before you identify, that's when you can enchant the item. So like, do I want to identify it or do I want to just enchant it and make it better or change the stats or whatever, on the crafting aspect of it. But
They could make it. They could make it a skill. Identify your individual tunes identify skill. So like you put the mouse over it and then you click identify or whatever, and it says you do not have this high enough skill level to identify this item. But if you do have a high enough skill, it'll say this looks like a crafting material, or this looks like
oh
something I might
yeah,
be able to eat, something like
right,
that.
yeah. But it's not like telling you this is a craftable. This is
Right. It's just kind of like you kind of figured it out yourself because you have that high enough identify skill. You know what I mean?
right. Yeah,
Ability.
yeah. That would be awesome. That'd be really cool. But yeah, he just goes on to say that very much thing. Is it a crafting item salvageable? It is hand holding, but I don't know. Like, cause EQ didn't tell us anything. Like you get an item, you don't know what the hell
You
it's
have no
for.
idea.
No
You have
idea.
no idea what it is.
Yeah. So maybe even you could take it to a scribe and he can tell you what it's for or something, or he might give
Right.
you an
Or you
idea.
can do that. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. That's pretty cool. But here, I pulled up a picture just on what you could see in the inventory. He's just on a wolf's eye that he is looting off the corpse. But that meaning like next to weight, it would just say craftable or something in that regard. But yeah, I would even like to see it. Yeah, take it to a scribe or something to just get it identified, or you have an identify skill or what have you. Next is customization. Given the way attributes work, and we've seen attributes fairly well. I don't know how much rework that's getting, but so far of what they have on the attributes is pretty cool. But I think it is especially important that the crafting process includes a way to customize the results when appropriate. So while most low-level equipment may not carry attribute boosts, mid and high-level equipment should do so. It would be possible for the crafter to choose during crafting whether to create a chest piece with a focus on strength or a focus on constitution, or whether to create boots with a focus on stamina or focus on agility. Ideally, the customization should be a part of the crafting process itself. This, I think, is like vital because you can make, and I was thinking this too, this is an indirect way to solve craft or PvE gear and PvP gear, and that whole balance. And if you can balance the crafting system, which people are going to use crafted gear for PvP because it's the stats they want. You want strength on your chest plate as a warrior, and if you can gear that in the crafting process, I think that's really hits home with all three spectrums.
Right. I mean, it's easy to do because you think about it. You could you could assign a gem of some kind or anything in that. Okay, so when I make this breastplate, the a ruby gives it strength. The topaz gives it agility. Something like that. In the combination of the recipe, and that gives it the different stats. I mean, it's so simple to do, and it makes so much sense.
Yeah, I mean, like it's not RNG, but it's just like you can put forth
Right.
an essence or whatever points, attribute points towards it to help, generate.
And you would have to. The way they would have to do is they'd have to make it be like on a sliding scale. So it would be, um, you couldn't just, twink one freaking like make a level 30 breastplate and you can't add like all the materials to it that would give it strength, agility, stamina.
No, 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 no.
Saying it would have
Yeah,
to be one or the other. Like you can put possibly two. You could put two enchantments on it. Say for example. So you got to pick the one enchantment or the two enchantments you're going to put. You can double up strength. You can give it strength, agility,
right.
something like that. can't do it, so because then you'll just have people making twink gear left and right.
Yeah, exactly. And even like you could even restrict it, like that slider that you have could be capped. Like adding so much essence can bring you only to a cap of getting this percentage on the actual thing. So like it's not a guarantee. Like say like you put in 50 points of 50 essence into the thing and that caps you at 60% or something. You only can get 60% chance to get these stats on there, So
yeah, there's a lot of ways to go about doing that.
Yeah.
To keep it in check.
Yeah, there has to be. Otherwise, people will just be flooding it till they get the best shit, and then just sell it on the auction house.
Yep.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, but whether essence is obtained through actually adventuring and PVEing and stuff like that, that could be cool too. Because each class has their own essence. So like Dire Lord essence, all that. So that'd be pretty cool. All right, so let's go. And then to follow it down, allowing crafters to customize the goods that they make and sell will not only help provide more meaningful choices for adventuring using those goods, but will also allow the economy to support more crafters in general. If the resources needed to create equipment remain relatively rare, you can create a situation where more crafters are either whatever their inventory, or where they only have limited inventory to sell. By doing this, there is more room for crafters selling similar items to operate, and the economy is less prone to extreme over/under /supply situations. So it's really creating that supply and demand amongst the economy, and
that's tricky.
Yeah, that I think is very tricky, and it's how much rarity do you make things, But I would think they would have to be super rare, at least the end stuff, Like it's pretty easy to acquire steel weapons and steel chest plates, but like to get silver chest plates is like pretty hard, and gold is like, oh man, you rarely would find gold. And then like coal dark steel of like special types of different stuff, or like anthracite or whatever, is like extremely rare.
I think if they do that, like what he wrote right there, I mean, it makes sense. But if they did that, they'd also have to implement some kind of a workaround where if you don't have the materials, you don't have the ability to get the materials, you could possibly make this higher end piece of equipment just through a grind, like where, in other words, since you can destroy equipment, if you created 3 lower level ones and you destroyed them to get the materials, then you could in turn upgrade the next tier one, and until you eventually got that piece of equipment or gear that you would have been able to get with the better material through just like refining it through through the process of and make upgrade, in other words, upgrading like that, because it wouldn't be fair to people that didn't have those materials and weren't able to get them. Because if you want the game to be where you can play for 2 hours and do something meaningful, you're not going to be running around trying to find some rare ore.
Right.
What I mean?
Yeah.
It would kind of defeat the purpose.
Well, I think that the mastercrafted level would be more so for people that are like playing the game extensively. Like obviously you're not going to get to mastercraft playing 2 hours a day. You need to play for like 2 years or a year, to be able to even get it. But I don't know, like I think that would work, But yeah, I definitely think customization is very, very big in how it's going to be, how it's going to be incorporated. And then here I brought up a little picture of a wolf fur tunic, and then this would be like, you're droppable or whatever. You pick this up. So you can take this to an enchant or somebody that can enchant it, or some crafter that can enchant it to make it better, or they can imbue it or create sockets on it to be able to put gems and shit into it too. But yeah, so you would take this, or you would break it down if you don't want, if it's just trash, you could sell it to the vendor, or you can break it down for mats and then use the mats into your leather working or whatever you are. So.
Well, now that brings up another point. Like, do you think should everything be workable? Like, should this, like, this is a good example.
Oh,
should
okay.
This low level
yeah.
Tunic, should the thing be either, like you're saying, you can destroy it for the material, so you destroy it and you get, you get a little bit of wolf fur, you get some leather or whatever, you know what I'm saying? Or is everything workable? I mean, that's a little extreme. You know what I mean? If you brought it, like, for example, you bring this to somebody and they can put something on, added a material to it, rework it, and it gives you a few more stats. You know what I mean?
Right.
Do you go that far? You know what I mean? Do you
on this particular piece of gear? Probably not. You would just probably sell it to a vendor for quick, because that's going to be the easiest thing. Taking it to a crafter to break it down isn't going to be worth it, or however you have to go to a crafting station to break it down. Maybe they have a quick breakdown in inventory, like whatever. But you can do one of two things, and it's really like, do I just want to make money on this, or do I want to sell this 10 or 2 scraps of leather for tattered leather for half the price? Like, I need to get a lot of these in order to actually make any money on them or to be useful, and it's only going to be useful to crafters primarily. So I'm just probably going to vendor it, and then some other person walking along just opens up the vendor shop and sees this, and he's a level 1 and he buys it, and he's like, oh sweet, I get a cool little chest armor. So I mean
it would be a tremendous amount of work, I think, to do that. I mean, I could see that
to make everything workable.
Yeah, I mean,
maybe not everything.
Cool, I mean, it would be cool if that was the way it was. I mean, I wouldn't say it's bad. That's a bad thing. I'd be down with it, but it'd be a tremendous amount of work that every single item you drop, you could possibly do something to in crafting. I don't know if they could even do that.
Well, maybe not every item, but like any item that could be used in crafting process in its original state. Right. Like, you can make this wolf fur tunic if you wanted to in crafting, but you also just found one, which is like way easier,
Or like for example, this one, you bring it to a tailor, right? The tailor now has a recipe that puts a liner in it. So now it's no longer it's a warm wool fur tunic, and it protects you from cold, from the elements.
I like that. Like, you don't even have to break it down. You could just take this, and then that's a component of a bigger recipe.
Right. Exactly. That's what I'm thinking. And you could implement it into
that'd be very cool.
Climate system. Because the climate system. So now this wool fur tunic gives you like absolutely no protection from the cold. You take it to a tailor who sews in a liner. It becomes a new recipe. The recipe is the warm wolf fur tunic, and now you're you got +5 protection to cold.
Yeah,
free temperature. You know what I mean?
It's
something
like
that. At low level. Think about it. At a very low level, at level 1 or 2 or 5, it's worth it, because where else are you going to get this? Where else are you going to get the climate gear? You know what I mean?
Right.
It could be the matter of that at that point.
Maybe it's not always just tied to glyphs. It's also the gear itself,
Right.
So you could just do like the first or second tier of the cold, without being, that'd be really good. I mean, like, obviously this isn't really to scale of what gear you should be using for that tier, but I mean, in retrospect, like, I like the idea of taking this piece, or like a tunic, and a tunic is in like, say 30% of the craftables in armor smithing, or leather working or whatever. Like, it's a base component, in order to make adorned whatever,
right.
And that carries its own stats versus the cold gear you're trying to make. I think that'd be really, really cool. I think that just makes blacksmithing and armor smithing that much more important too, to add things like that in there. But yeah, that's very cool stuff. All right, let me just switch back. All right. So that's crafting, guys. I hope you guys liked it. If you guys have any other ideas, definitely check out the forums on the Pantheon website. They have plenty of threads and stuff you guys can go and look into and see what all the good people of Pantheons are thinking and doing and wanting for crafting. But yeah, dude, do you have anything you want to close up with or say?
No, I'm psyched for we're having a year-end show in a couple of weeks.
Yep.
I'm psyched for that.
Go ahead, everybody check that out. That's what next month, right? 12th. I believe it's 12th. Yeah. So if you guys like this show, stay tuned for another episode next month sometime. It'll be tricky with Christmas and stuff, but I'll get it to you guys and how it's going to work. But yeah, either that, check out the video next month for the rest of the guys here at VOT, and stay tuned. Thanks again, guys. See ya.